This is Wrestling Informant Radio, WrestlingInformant.com. How's it going, everybody? Gary and Chris back for another week, another show. And happy birthday, Chris. How you doing, pal?
Thank you, man. I'm doing great. A lot of excitement here on my end. A lot of it wrestling-related, a lot of it non-wrestling related, so it's all good.
That's right. This is Wednesday, October the 8th. We got plenty of ground to cover here, and I understand, Chris, that you finished. Last week, we had Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer, Figure 4 Online, on the program. We want to thank Brian again for his appearance. We gained quite a few new listeners. I mean, obviously, we're still a newer show, and we're very thankful to Brian for promoting the interview and bringing in some new listeners. We've been getting a lot of great compliments through Twitter and other avenues. We do appreciate that, and I understand that you have beat me to it. You have finished his book before I did, and I want to know, what was your final verdict on it?
Yep, absolutely. I got it minute one, and then just as quickly as I bought it, I finished the entire book. But it was interesting, especially because I know we talked about this before. You and I were from that generation that grew up watching it as it unfolded.
Oh yeah.
But for me, I didn't really consider. It wasn't in my mind that it was a war. I just thought it was awesome that there were two companies that we could go back and forth, flip between. But seeing as how bad it was in WCW,
yeah,
this was an eye opener for me. In some regards, I know they've covered it a little on the WWE Network with the Monday Night War and everything like that, and I kind of remember things from like ECW and even just later WCW, how I wasn't really that interested in it.
Yeah,
this is why it was so bad.
It made everything clear for you.
Yeah, it did crystal clear, and Brian Alvarez, they did a great job on this book, on this revision.
Yeah,
of the previous book, and I like how they actually included the epilogues and things like that from the first book.
Oh, it's great.
And how they included that, and then added the new spin to it.
Yeah.
And once you get it, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but the end of the book, it's not WCW related, but it is mind-boggling.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's a tease right there.
That is a tease. But basically, this book was how to not run a promotion. If you don't do any of the things that WCW did, and they went into detail on a lot of things.
Yeah, they definitely laid a lot out there on the table for everybody.
Yeah, especially with like the whole NWO angle and just the ratings, just all the detail in all the Nielsen ratings.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It was just how everything was a factor. The good pay-per-views, because there were moments in the book where they even said, this wasn't a great pay-per-view, but there were a couple of good matches, but then the rest was downhill. So
yeah,
there was a lot of that. And there were some that were just all bad, and then some nitro. But they went a lot into nitro too.
Oh yeah, you got to.
Right.
You got to. Yeah, I'm about halfway through. I'm marching through, my friend. I'm trying to catch up, but obviously you beat me to the punch. But no, it's good stuff. And for those of you guys that want to check it out, we encourage you to visit WrestlingInformant.com/WCW book, and you can go right to Amazon right there and pick it up right from our link. It's that easy, Chris. That is WrestlingInformant.com/WCW book.
Right, and for our listeners, I highly recommend, because I'm not much for reading books.
Neither am I.
But yeah, but this one, for our listeners, for our base that tunes in every week for us, highly recommend it. Go out and get it. You can get I think the hardbacks are next week.
Yeah.
But you can go online now and get the, if you want to listen on your tablet or read it on your tablet or whatever, you can get the Kindle app and then just download it right from the Amazon store. So.
Yeah, and that link that we provided, which once again is WrestlingInformant.com/WCW book, that'll give you access to the Kindle, whatever copy you want. It's right there.
Great read.
Excellent. Very, very cool. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and we did talk to Brian last week, and he will be back at some point. We'll talk a little bit more current events next time. I really like hearing his insight on things, and
I do too.
He's a guy that's been covering the business for many years. So thanks again to Brian Alvarez. We do appreciate it. So, Chris, we've got a couple of different things, a couple of different directions we can go on. I'm kind of thinking maybe we should just lead into Raw here and get that out of the way while it's still fairly timely.
Right, it's still fresh in our minds too.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Lot with this show. There was many things that irked me, many things that bothered me. And then there were a couple of things that I enjoyed. So I guess we'll start with the good first.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll bury the lead here and get to Rock in a moment. We'll make you wait for that. But you know what? Cena and Ambrose, I really liked their exchange. I think this was in like the first hour. It wasn't the opening segment. It was somewhere at like the bottom of the hour or just after that. They had a in-ring. I want to say it was right around 8:30. Ambrose came out and he was kind of cutting a promo there. John Cena comes out and they talked. Ambrose talking about, you know what? If you're getting in my way, I'm going to take you out. And Cena, without being cheesy or corny, flat out just get right back to him. Well, look, if you get in my way, I'm going to take you out. And I really liked the back and forth between these guys because it wasn't, Cena wasn't kind of being cornball Cena. It's not like he was overly great here, but he just kind of gave it back to Rollins in like a nice kind of back and forth. And I really thought that was a more brighter spot of the show here.
No, it was, and it didn't seem like it was it didn't seem like it was too scripted.
Yeah, sometimes these guys talking, it's very, very robotic,
Right, or very, very blatantly obvious that they're just going off of a script that a writer told them. Say, you need to, because I know there's a lot of guys that just want bullet points. There's not many of those guys left.
Yeah.
But then you got guys like Cena or things like that want their lines exactly as it's supposed to be said, and it sounds like this, and it's so boring.
I mean, there's ways where, even if it is scripted, there's ways where a guy can take that and make it his own and make it interesting, or even maybe change one or two or three words in a sentence or something like that to make it sound a little more livelier rather than just such a robotic delivery. But, without getting too far into just a small talking segment, I just really liked the back and forth. To me, it was very simple. Very well done, and they're kind of on to what we talked about last week where, Seth Rollins is kind of like the substitute for the championship because we don't have Brock Lesnar. And I think Michael Cole mentioned Brock Lesnar's name all of about maybe once on the show. It was very quickly in passing during the main event where they were talking about kind of the thing between Cena and Rollins and how Rollins got involved in that match. And that was about it.
Right, because I would say, most times they just reference that Cena lost the title and he's blaming Rollins for losing the title, and that's really all they say.
Yeah,
that's how it's been for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and it's obviously they don't have Lesnar. I don't think they should go out of their way to make people forget that he exists just because they don't want people bitching that he's not around.
Right.
I mean, they kind of put their self in that hole, and this dates back to 3 or 4 years ago when Rock came back and they started this whole smear campaign against Rock about how he's just part-timer. I mean, fans never really talked about part-time. It was never this buzzword until Rock came back and they used it in a storyline and left a lot of money on the table. But I won't go into that rant again.
Yeah, and it was never a topic to begin with. Back then, but anyway.
They really brought that to the forefront a few years ago. But
yeah.
they don't have to completely ignore. There's ways where you can kind of keep him, visible. They could have done some pre-tapes. They could have flat out made a story that says, "Look, my contract says I got these dates, and I'm sticking to it."
There was one video. There was one video interview they did where he said, "I'm a prize fighter.
Right.
I fight for the money on certain. I think he even said on certain dates.
Yeah.
Kind of like how he was in the UFC. The UFC is the same way."
Oh, yeah. You fight maybe once a year, twice a year, tops.
Right. The champion's not on every show, and if he is, he's in the crowd catching the fight.
There's a way they could do that and explain that without, getting people, I think, too upset. But everybody's got this part-time thing in their mind, and people just like to be upset about something. They always like to be angry about something. But
of course. What would the world be without the Smarks getting angry?
Yes, people get very angry. But look, you know what? Seth Rollins, I kind of like how they've used him here as like a substitution to the title. They've made it so now you've got two of the top stars in the company fighting over who gets to fight this guy. And I like how they've kind of set the groundwork where a Hell in a Cell now makes complete sense. Because before, if they just had Seth Rollins, attacking guys or whatever all the time and not running away, Hell in a Cell may not make a whole lot of sense unless he was absolutely beyond the shadow of a doubt fighting Dean Ambrose, because they have the longer feud. But they've had Rollins portrayed where he's always running away, always running through the crowd. Now a Hell in a Cell makes complete sense. They built in a reason to put that match in a Hell in a Cell. My only argument would be, or not even an argument, but more of a comment for this week, is Rollins should come out on TV and say, "Man, this is not fair. These guys are gonna fight, then I gotta get in. Why are the Authority making me fight one of these guys? You guys should be protecting me." That kind of seems the narrative of what they should go with. He should be upset that he has to be locked in a cell with these people. That would be my thought, because he's kind of that chicken kind of heel. You know what I mean?
Right. And I'm kind of glad they didn't make it like a triple threat match either. Because then I think that would get too crowded. That would be too much inside Hell in a Cell.
Well, I gotta
like a traditional triple threat match. I don't think has there ever been a triple threat inside Hell in a Cell, or has it always been 1-on-1?
I'm sure they've done a triple threat at some
point.
Might
have, because I don't remember, but
there's so much stuff that's happened over the last 10 years.
I know.
But you know what? I hate to break it to you though. My thought on the whole event was, I feel like, how do you cheat either one of the guys out of it? Where my thought was, it'll probably end in some kind of a DQ BS finish, and then they'll both end up fighting him. That was kind of my thought of it. I know there's rumors on the internet that the loser would get Randy Orton, and I don't know why Randy Orton would be anybody's consolation prize.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, maybe that's how it'll shake out. Maybe they feel like, well, geez, we got to have something for Orton here. But I don't know, man. I hate to read into that stuff and just go on it.
And it doesn't even really make any sense.
Why would Randy Orton, who's been around a lot longer than Seth Rollins, why would he be anybody's consolation prize?
No way.
That doesn't make any sense.
Not at all.
So you're looking at either Cena or Ambrose in the Hell in a Cell. I just feel like, and going off only what we know, again, so maybe there is this thing with Orton, but I don't know. I'm not going to comment really on it, but I'm going off of the fact that one of them has to face him, and I'm kind of thinking, maybe they want to get both of them in there and have some kind of a triple threat, perhaps. It's possible. I don't know that. I'm not a big triple threat guy, though, Chris. It's not my thing.
No. Yeah, I'm not either, but I out of everything that's happened, this whole chase, the build-up, everything that's happened, I would think it'd make the most sense for Ambrose to beat Cena and then go into Hell in a Cell to face Rollins.
Yeah.
For that, and then that would lead. I don't know. Do you even see them doing another Cena Lesnar match? Maybe at Survivor Series.
It's possible. I mean, who else?
Especially with the way the last pay-per-view finished.
Yeah, I feel like there's unfinished business, but plus also, like, who are you gonna put up against Lesnar if not Cena? That's the problem,
right? Because right now there isn't anybody.
No, definitely not. There's
nobody.
There is nobody,
and the guys that are deserving of it are on the shelf.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, they're out.
Like what? I mean, what else? How else would you do that? I don't
Literally is nobody else other than John Cena.
I don't even know how you would go about that, to be honest with you. I just don't know how you'd even you could do Big Show, you could do Mark Henry, but
nah. I mean, even Seth Rollins, it's still kind of weird because I'm thinking, okay, how is he going to cash in on Lesnar if Lesnar's still the champion? I've been trying to wrap my head around that for months.
Well,
trying to figure out the whole cash-in scenario.
If you remember when we had Alex Greenfield on the show a few shows back, he mentioned that he thought it would be, quote, magnetic effing television if Seth Rollins. So there's something good to go back. If you're one of our new listeners, go back in our RSS feed. This is on the free feed, not our members feed, but if you go back on the free feed and listen to that interview, he made a pitch for a potential Seth Rollins cash-in on Lesnar, which is pretty interesting. I don't think that's the direction they're going to go, but it would definitely be interesting for sure.
Right, because it's definitely got me thinking.
Yeah.
And also, for our new listeners, if you're having a hard time trying to find it, it's right at the top at WrestlingInformant.com.
Yeah, we have it as a featured audio.
Yeah, so it's right there at the top. It's above all of our stories and our members' audio. It's right at the top. If you think that's easier, you can get it there.
good man. I was just telling him to go through the RSS feed. You remembered that it was on the top of the page.
Yep.
Go, birthday boy. There you go. Let me ask you, let's shift gears a little bit. Let me ask you about the Bray Wyatt family skits we've been seeing on television, man.
Yeah.
It looks like they may be, I don't know if splitting up is kind of the word, but maybe kind of like spreading out, going their own ways.
Maybe. Yeah.
What do you think about this?
Like grooming Harper for a singles run.
Right, but on Raw there was a little video for Rowan too. So
yeah,
what? I mean, are they trying to reestablish? They're kind of teasing that something is coming. What do you think about that? What when you look at it, what stands out to you?
Because I see a lot more focus on Luke Harper.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Obviously, for obvious reasons, but it's kind of hard to tell because they're so cryptic with it, and that's how the Wyatts have been for the whole time. Just so cryptic. I'd say it's either obviously a singles run or just like bringing them back together. But I think it's more of singles runs.
It's perhaps, or maybe they're gonna do some single stuff and they're gonna come back as a stronger unit. I mean, they haven't been really utilized to their fullest potential.
No.
In recent time, but sometimes I watch these videos and I'm like, what the hell is Bray talking about?
It is so creepy.
Like, it sounds good, and I'm sure it has a meaning, but man, sometimes it's too deep even for me.
Yeah, you really got to focus, and even then, I'm still lost. It's like, what just happened?
I really don't understand it.
You know, maybe that's the point. They don't want anybody to understand it.
Fair point. All right. Well, let's talk about. Before we get to Rock, one more really, really good thing that stood out to me. Joan London was a special guest on the show out of nowhere. I don't think she was even previously announced.
No, she wasn't.
But she just gave this kind of speech or talking about the breast cancer thing, and it was out of all the promotional stuff they've done, and for her to come out there and say what she did and share what she did and the way she did it, man, that was like one of the biggest highlights of the show for me. And it wasn't even wrestling related, but that was really moving, man. I mean, I kind of tune out to a lot of that charity stuff. I mean, everybody can have their different opinions as far as, what Susan G. Komen's really donating and all that. Because I know if you Google those kind of stories are out there, and we're not a political show. We don't talk about the ins and outs of what charities do, but. So just the short version of it is I kind of tune out some of that stuff. You know what I mean? What she did, when she came out there and what she had to say, that kind of blew me away, man. What'd you think about that?
I did too, because it wasn't a cheesy, hokey, scripted wrestling segment. It was very real, very honest, very open.
Yeah.
And I thought it was, especially for what their whole goal behind partnering with Susan G. Komen. I think it worked.
Oh, yeah.
And it definitely worked, and I thought it was very classy, very well done.
Definitely. It was certainly a lot better than the mid-50s housewives spanking each other in the rear end with wine bottles, Chris.
I was flipping back and forth between Raw and the Cardinals game because I was on at the same time.
Oh, man.
Monday night, so I was back and forth, and their baseball game was in a commercial, so I flipped back to Raw. And of course, when I flipped back, it was those stupid Kathie Lee and Hoda.
Yeah, Kathie Lee was actually, the wine they were drinking was her wine. So they were there for charity, but she was advertising her own wine.
Right, I saw that. I'm thinking, oh, figures. That's what it says. Yeah, figures.
And then
be trying to shill her own wine.
Right, but then they're like they're trying to say, well, on our show we have to behave, but on this show we can kind of let things go a little bit. And I'm like this doesn't, on what world does this turn on guys? Because obviously a line like that is probably meant to trigger a young male who might have an affection for an older woman, and there's certain people that kind of think like that. But these women, the way they did it, they just came off like wine cooler drinking mothers at a party that they got too drunk at, and now they're slapping each other in the rear end with wine bottles. What is that?
So lame.
It was the worst.
Lame. I don't even think I stayed for the whole. I flipped the channel back.
And they had to come out with Adam Rose too.
Of course.
God, it's the worst, man.
Ugh.
I just.
It was so. It was so bad. I couldn't even stay for the whole thing. I'd flip back.
Between that and the Hornswoggle as the alligator fighting El Torito, man, I just
Oh my
wow.
God. No.
If we didn't have to cover this stuff for the website, dude, like if I'm just the average person that, likes wrestling, people that listen to the show, just regular wrestling fans, I don't know that I could stay tuned in.
No, this does not help that cause.
No.
If you're wanting to watch wrestling, this does not help. Seeing the whole Kathie Lee Hoda segment, and then you got the Hornswoggle as a gator, actually dressed up in a gator costume.
The crowd didn't like it either.
Of course not. I mean, that Brooklyn crowd, you're not going to get anything past them.
No.
You're not gonna fool them with anything. They'll tell you exactly where you can go with that stuff.
Vince McMahon back in the day would use New York, Madison Square Garden,
Yes.
As an example. He would use those shows to try to gauge what direction to go, and he would listen to the fans as they were kind of the pulse of, where he would go. He would listen to, he would take them to the Garden and see who's over and who's not.
Right, and yeah, that was his litmus test, and especially considering even back when he was just the Northeast Territory.
Yeah,
it was huge.
Definitely. So, so the fact that they could bring that into New York and it gets crapped on, I don't blame them.
Right.
And the rating was one of the lowest ratings in like nearly 2 years. I mean, obvious, duh.
Yeah, wake up.
There's a lot of just problems that I have with the show, and it mainly surrounds around the mid card. I mean, we've got Intercontinental Championships, U.S. Championships, Tag Team Championships. A lot of this stuff just doesn't have a whole lot of substance to it, and it's one of these things of, okay, well, we put all of our focus in Seth Rollins, John Cena, Dean Ambrose, The Authority, and we'll replay these select videos involving these characters multiple times throughout the show, but we won't maybe take out one or two of those replays to give somebody like a Dolph Ziggler or somebody like that some mic time to talk about what the championship means to him, or what or maybe his opponent, whoever that may be on any given week, what a chance at the IC title would mean to them. Like there's no backstory to really any of this stuff. It's just kind of like these guys, they start feuding on Raw, and then they have a pay-per-view match, which looks like a Raw match, and then usually, especially these matches, WWE just gives free rematches on Raw right after the pay-per-view. There's just nothing to it. There's no substance to it. It's not treated as a big deal. A lot of times Cole and them are talking about other things, and this is a glaring reason as far as why, if somebody like John Cena were to go out right now and go down with an injury, and I'm not wishing that on anybody, or even Dean Ambrose for that matter, they're going to be in big trouble, because we're going to end up getting more matches involving Kane, for instance.
Oh, God.
I mean, my God, they've had a variation of John Cena and Dean Ambrose against Kane and Randy Orton, or Kane and or Rollins, some variation for the last 2 or 3 weeks here. It is absolutely insanity that they have to keep going back to this match, because they don't put any trust or any kind of validity to the undercard wrestlers or the mid-card wrestlers, and I don't like that. I think that's not good for them. They're not setting up a good groundwork. And absolutely, if one of those guys like a Cena, like an Ambrose, goes down and they sit there, well, what do we do? What are we possibly going to do? Well, that's on your tab. That's your problem, because you didn't lay the groundwork early enough to get some of these other guys over. It's nobody's fault but their own.
Right, and that's kind of what they ran into when they had to call their audible with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns going down.
Yeah,
they had to adjust that, and then also to that point, and I agree with you 100% on the whole mid card, because what they've done is they've essentially taken their Intercontinental title and U.S. title, and to an extent the tag team titles, and made them absolutely useless, no value with it whatsoever. They've destroyed they pretty much, I would say, tarnished the legacy of it, which they've pretty much done. They've just killed off any hope of making those titles once again relevant.
Yeah, they're never going to be relevant again.
No, and they just, and like you said, just blatantly shows that all they're focused on is the top of the card. They're not focused on the mid card or the undercard or the titles that really should mean something.
Well, back in the day, a title like the Intercontinental title could headline a house show.
Yeah,
back in the day.
A house show.
Yeah,
and even SummerSlam '92. IC title headline the show.
There it is with the right story.
Oh,
boom! It's no problem at all. I mean, that was the match that sold that damn building. It wasn't Ultimate Warrior and Randy Savage. I got news for you, man. I love both of those guys, but it wasn't those guys.
No, it was Hart and Bulldog.
That's it.
Yeah, and it helped that it was at Wembley. So so Davey Boy had the hometown. He had the home field advantage there.
Yeah,
they just went nuts for him.
Yeah, they've got to fix this problem because if you had the IC title more over, if it was seen as kind of the way it was in the 80s and 90s, you wouldn't even have to use Seth Rollins as kind of like the title to have guys fight over who gets to face him. The IC title could have stepped up and been a main event title. You could have, if you had long-term planning and the right story, and obviously they couldn't do this right now because there's just nobody that's over enough, no story that's hot enough, but if they had something slow burning for a few months and they knew ahead, hey, we don't have Brock Lesnar for this show, they could heat up red hot some kind of IC title feud. I'm thinking of the level, let's think of something that's not so outdated, like something in the 80s or the early 90s. Let's go Rock Triple H SummerSlam 98. That was over the IC championship.
Man, it was.
If they didn't have Austin and Undertaker, they could have headlined with that match. That feud was hot enough to headline that show if need be. So I use that as the closest example of the beloved Attitude Era that a lot of people go back and wish that would come back. But that's the most recent example I can think of one of the last times that the IC title was relevant in a match that if they had no world title, that match right there was so hot because they had this long feud with DX and the Nation of Domination. Yep. And it culminated in this ladder match. I remember Triple H saying, "Rock, you're gonna be my bitch," and they had this huge feud. It was so much heat poured on this thing, and people went crazy for it. And they could have headlined any pay-per-view with that. So I just used that as the most recent example I can give because beyond 1998, I don't remember any other time where the IC title had so much stock put into it. So I'll put it to you that way.
Right, there really hasn't, and I'm trying to think. The United States title really didn't have anything. I'm trying to think of when it was, well, maybe in the 90s a little bit, but it was in WCW.
Yeah, that was a WCW thing.
Right, but even, I guess, the NWA had it, but that's a dated reference there back in the 80s. That's when it meant something, because you look at who held the United States title in the NWA and WCW. There's some big, I'm talking about early WCW. I'm not talking about late 90s, early 2000 WCW, because that was a joke, but I'm talking about like the Harley Races and even Rick Rude.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, those guys that knew how to go. They knew how to work in the ring to make that title mean something.
Yeah, it's
an art that's long gone, and if they're not careful, they're just gonna these guys are gonna be, well, I think they already are, lost in obscurity.
It's so simple to do. It's something to where if you just use the logic of the good old days, and I know they hate that word wrestling, it's sports entertainment, but if you use some of just the same logic that they used and gave it a modern twist,
oh yeah,
what's old is new again, and they could make it work.
Right? No, we're not saying. Obviously, we've been on record, and we still say this. We're not saying go back to the Attitude Era or go back to early 90s, early 80s NWA or anything like that, but just maybe take some of those elements and just incorporate a little bit more. Yeah. Because it worked.
Yeah, man.
And now that they have the firepower of WWE, because they're pretty much they're the premier wrestling company, the number one company. They don't have any competition now, so they can tinker with things like that.
Oh, definitely.
Because they are the powerhouse. I mean, especially with their publicly traded company, they do all the charity work. Everything that they do now, they have the power to be able to do some of these things.
Let me ask you this, and this is a good chat. And again, we encourage anybody, if you ever have any thoughts on this stuff, if you're listening, you're like, yeah, I agree with this, or wow, I really disagree with that. We have a forum, and that is if you're on Twitter at PW Informant. You can always send us a tweet. You can always send us an email in private if you like, info@WrestlingInformant.com. If you have any kind of feedback, any kind of thoughts on anything that you want us to either, we can either read it or whatever. I mean, we'd love to hear from you and what you guys think I'd really be interested to see what people think about some of the stuff we're talking about here, because I think it's some good chat about what they could do with the mid card. I really do.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's an open forum, so don't be shy. Feel free. You can tweet us, email us, whatever. And yeah, I'd definitely like to know what's somebody other than Gary and I think.
Yeah, and you know what the other thing is, I would like to eventually build a forum on our website. So if you guys think you might be interested in participating in a forum where we can also use that as a venue for people to post their thoughts on any given show, let us know. Drop us a line, info@WrestlingInformant.com, or on the Twitter @PWInformant. Let us know, and that's something we'll definitely take under consideration. It's not very hard to do, and it could be another way for you guys to communicate with us. And again, we do appreciate everybody that takes the time to listen. We had a lot of new listeners last week, and we just want to welcome you guys. Because we picked up a lot of new subscribers, and we do appreciate not only the new ones, but more importantly, the ones who have been here with us and been listening since day one. We do appreciate everybody.
Yes, we do.
So thank you guys so much. Chris, another thing I want to run by you here. I guess is kind of before we get to the Rock. We can kind of make this quick. Roman Reigns did this kind of like 40-second via satellite interview. Now, he did an interview with Sam Roberts from the Opie and Anthony show over the weekend. He was at Ringside Fest in New York, so he was in town. And he actually told Sam Roberts he was going to be in the building, in the ring, on Monday's Raw. He was not, and they did this via satellite thing. I think Michael Cole asked him maybe one question, and he answered it, and it was over. What did you think about that?
That's kind of weird. Even though Roman Reigns he's not a man of many words, they could have done a little bit more with that.
Oh, they could have done a lot more.
Yeah, they could have, even just a little bit more would have been fine. I mean, if it's less than a minute, it's like, hey, Roman Reigns, how you doing? How you feeling? I'm good. Okay, bye. That's basically what it was. Like, that's it? That's it.
It's just, you've got Roman Reigns, and people know that if he could tweak a few things, and not just him, but also if they could figure out a way to, because like you look at the interview with Sam Roberts, and we posted a link on our Twitter @PWInformant. He has so much more personality in this interview with Sam Roberts than he does on anything he's ever done on WWE TV. So much more personality, and it's just him just talking, just having a casual chat with Sam, the interviewer. And he's just talking about his recovery thus far and hoping to get back and things like that. But he just shows so much more personality there. Like, it stands out so much. If you pay close attention to it, and you can just see how much more personality he has, man. And it's just, I look at this and I'm like, you guys hyped this thing up, and then you gave us 40 seconds, and it was nothing. It was like, this is the guy that you're going to have go up against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. This is the guy, and this is how you're going to put him out there. Like, I didn't like that at all. I just thought it was bad. I thought it was really, really bad, and Roman Reigns deserves better than that, especially if you're hoping to do any kind of pushing with him. So it's disappointing, very disappointing, because I know fans are excited, because obviously the first time you get to see Roman Reigns in a while. And then you get that, it's like, the letdown's huge. Yeah. I mean, it's
absolutely huge. And it's sad that they couldn't do more. Or they didn't do more, obviously, but it's a shame.
Yeah, definitely a shame. All right, we've buried the lead long enough. The Rock makes a surprise return on Raw this week, completely out of nowhere. No one saw this coming. I think Rock literally tweeted, he did an interview with Eden on YouTube. WWE's interviewer Eden, she's kind of like a reporter that goes around after the show and gets various interviews to follow up on storylines and stuff like that. And he mentioned that he actually tweeted it 2 seconds before he walked out. But other than that, no one knew about this. It was a total shock. WWE, they want this feeling that anything can happen. They want to project the image that anything can happen on the show. The problem is, as we've talked about some other issues with the mid-card and things like that. I don't think there's people that are staying tuned in. I think people are tuning in and tuning out. Like you mentioned, you're watching your game and you're trying to watch Raw as well. So bringing back Rock in a segment like this where it was completely a surprise, while it was very entertaining, we can talk about that as well.
Yeah,
projecting this image that anything can happen when the product is kind of flat right now. I mean, I think The Rock injected a lot of energy into that show, but I don't know how many people. We don't have any kind of like quarter-hour ratings at this time, but it's hard to tell exactly how many people he really brought in at that particular moment.
Right, and one segment is not going to save a 3-hour show.
No.
Even if it is The Rock, this Rock that we have. Not Rock from 2000, 2001 or whatever. Not that. This mainstream entertainer who's got movie after movie after movie and big movies. It's just, and it's one segment. It can't save 3 hours of crap.
No.
Basically, it's not going to save it.
No.
And albeit I flipped back because I had heard The Rock. I saw The Rock on. I stuck with it. But then as soon as it was over, I bailed.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's great once it was on there, right? I mean...
Right. Very entertaining. It's very entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed it. A lot of people are quick to say, oh, God, he buried Rusev. He did not bury Rusev.
Oh, he didn't. Shut up.
Jeez, Chris.
He did not bury him. Shut up, people.
Wow. I think a definition of burying him would have been giving him the rock bottom, laying him out cold. That's a little different. What he did here was he threw Rusev a few punches and knocked him to his to the floor, but Rusev was very much still with it. This is something that we've seen Mark Henry do, something we've seen Big Show do, so it's not a big deal.
No.
But the back and forth, and there's something about Rusev I want to get to as well, but the back and forth with Rock and kind of the way he was talking to Lana and Rusev, I thought was very entertaining. And here's something I want to mention about Rusev that I'm not hearing a whole lot of people talking about, but they're letting him talk now, and I really enjoy hearing what he's got to say. Now, granted, it's a lot of it is I will crush you, I will rip out your spinal and beat you with it, or just random, just crazy stuff that he's saying. Yeah. But I actually really like it. I think it's effective, and I hope they continue to let him talk.
Right, and it works for that character too. He's not doing too much. He's not silent all the time. So it definitely works for him. It works in his favor. For
a while, I thought, okay, they're going to keep him quiet. Lana's going to talk for him. Okay, that's fine. But out of nowhere, when they started letting him talk, I think this isn't like the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's very recent. Yeah. I mean, he's not, your number one promo guy, but
no.
What he has to say is simple and I think effective for his character. Like you said, it fits for him. And I just think it's a nice touch, and you can really tell that the company is protecting this guy and getting behind him because they've got him rubbing shoulders with a guy like Rock. That's who they chose to put the Rock out there. It wasn't Rock interrupting Cena or Ambrose or the Authority or anything like that. It is the Rock with Rusev. So it's very interesting. A lot of people are saying, oh man, are we going to see Rock and Rusev? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they want to do that match, because I feel like if they do, then Rock automatically has to get the win. And if the idea is to eventually save Rusev for, say, a John Cena, or if they really want to keep him strong, if you have Roman Reigns win the championship at WrestleMania, which I believe is the plan, and you kept Rusev strong, you could have one hell of a SummerSlam match.
Oh my God, yes.
Well, I know what people think. They're like, oh God, Rusev and Reigns, that'll be a disaster. But not necessarily. Not everybody's going to be Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan. So chill out, internet fans. Not everybody's going to be a Daniel Bryan or Sami Zayn. You're going to have these different characters. You're going to have different body types. And I think with the right build, Roman Reigns and Rusev could be very interesting for a SummerSlam match. Now, I think that Rusev will eventually get fed to Cena? Yes, I do. But if they choose to keep them apart, and they keep Rusev undefeated, to have Roman Reigns beat the guy, I could see that. I could see a hell of a build-up for that too.
Definitely.
So, I'm just going to put that out there, Chris.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because that collision could be huge, and that is big network subscriptions right there.
I think people would buy in, especially the casual people who are the bigger audience here.
Right, and big guys aren't just big guys anymore. I mean, they can move.
Yeah,
so they can go.
Rusev's not terrible.
No, he's not. He's not the worst we've seen. There
are a lot worse big guys out there that could be a lot more deadly to the product. But yes,
right. Kane.
Yeah, well, yeah. Jeez. Well, Kane's been around for a long time. I'm not going to be.
He's got longevity, but just watching him in the ring. Oh,
well, now,
now, yes. Back then, it was fine. Now, not so much.
Kane's just been kept around for way too long. If they had him solely on TV as an authority figure, that would be, well, I don't like to see him, period. For me...
That lasted The Undertaker.
Well, Undertaker's been around before him, but...
Well, I know that, but still, it just seems like, oh man, Kane's he's just kind of been
going
there lingering. Yeah, he's still going.
For me, it's guys like Kane, Big Show, Mark Henry, guys that have been there for 15 years plus. I just think some of these guys, if you're not at the top of the card, these guys should be phased out. I mean, Henry, there's a little bit left to do with it. As a heel character, he'd be very effective, but they never really have good things for Big Show. They never really have good things for Kane. Kane's either got the mask on or he's got the mask off. One week he's corporate, next weekend he's the evil demon Kane or whatever they call him. I think they should make room for some other guys, personally. That's just me.
Well, and the problem I have is that they take somebody, and this isn't Kane. This is more, you look at Mark Henry and the Big Show. They turn him heel right away, make them monsters, and then all of a sudden, like 2 weeks later, they're back to high-fiving the kids and doing Be a Star and just being back to baby faces and doing jokes and trying to be the hero.
Yeah.
So it's very confusing, especially for the casual viewer.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. If you're gonna go all in.
Yeah, it's just it's tough. I mean, I know that they've obviously put themselves in this position where they feel like they don't have anybody else, so they have to rely on these guys. But I just think after so long, they should get off the TV and make room for new guys, NXT call-ups or what have you when they're ready to go. Not just when people want them, but when they're actually ready.
Well, and that's the other thing, too. They could be mentors at the Performance Center and NXT.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be perfect.
I'm not saying fire the guys. I mean, keep them on your payroll.
No. I know that.
They should have jobs for life. They've been around forever.
Right, and that would be perfect spots for them, be mentors for the guys coming up.
Yeah. One more thing I want to get to before we get, because I want to ask you about, for people that don't know, Chris covers the Ring of Honor side of the website and things of that nature. So I want to ask him about Michael Elgin. Before we get to that, what in the hell are they doing with the Bella twins? Every week now, it just seems like Nikki has been given the authority to put Brie in a match. These guys were on Raw, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago, fighting with Jerry Springer, knocking him to the ground, rolling all over him.
A complete mess.
Where is this fire between these two? Like, if this is what they're going to do, if this is the storyline they're going to do with these gals being up against each other, where is the big money match between these two that's going to settle the score once and for all, or at least add the next chapter? Like, when, and this is how I feel about AJ and Paige too, like, when are you going to shift gears and take that thing to the next level? Like, it just feels like both of these storylines for the most part are kind of they're lingering. They've kind of put the car in neutral, or they're stuck in first gear. They don't know what to do with either one of these storylines.
No, it's stalled. It's a time filler. Really, that's what it feels like. They're just filling time.
Yeah.
There's no emotion behind it. That it's not believable.
Definitely not.
We know it's a story. It's scripted. We get it, but there needs to be some believability. Yeah. I know we're not going to get. It's not Ambrose versus Rollins believable, but it should be more believable than this.
Well, for all the TV time both of these storylines are getting, I would hope that they're going to put a little bit more thought into it.
I hope so, because it needs a boost of something, but I don't know what. I don't know what they can do.
Definitely.
It's just it feels so lost in everything else. And that's the problem. That is still the problem. That it's the undercard.
Yeah.
And it sucks that the women, because these are some well, with the exception of the Bellas, but they are some talented wrestlers.
Yeah.
Very talented.
AJ and Paige especially.
Yeah.
And for them not to do more or give it more thought other than they just come out and, AJ walks away from the match, or Paige is kissing the belt, or they're looking at each other weird. Like, just give us, I'm not saying wrap up the storyline, but just tear off the next wrinkle of it, and let's see what the next page is. What is next? Where are they going next with this? That's what I want to see. That's all.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. And I'll say, before we move on, I do want to say for our new listeners that maybe want to sign up for a membership, not only do I cover Ring of Honor, I also get into NXT. So speaking of NXT, go back and watch Paige versus Emma matches on NXT, and you'll see why these two are so awesome together.
Oh, I agree completely. Or any women's match for that matter.
Right, anything. But those two had a couple of matches a while back on NXT that were just absolutely gold. They were, I would say, 5-star matches.
Wow.
For the women. So yeah, they were that good. So I highly recommend go back and watch it. You will not be disappointed.
They've got the tools, man. It's not like they don't have the tools. They have the tools. They just need to figure out how to configure them correctly, and not have Vince McMahon micromanage every little detail.
Right, and that's why I'm hoping that one day he does step aside and let Triple H, Paul Levesque, the guy that basically runs NXT, let him take the reins and see what he can do. Because I think he can do some good, a lot of good.
I definitely agree. I think that there's some room to do some good things, make some good moves, and just make the product better. Look, for people that just go online and they just blame the writers, all they do is blame the writers. It's not, you cannot do that. We've had writers on this very show and on our old show talking about Vince McMahon having the final say, changing things all the time. Mm-hmm. So for those of you guys,
minute rewrites.
Yeah. So for those of you guys who go on and just say, "Oh, the writers are burying everybody," no, it's not what it is. Relax.
Gosh, after talking to Alex Greenfield so much, and even Andrew Goldstein, I almost feel bad that you almost feel bad for the writers because of what they had to put up with.
Oh, I do. I absolutely feel bad for the writers.
And they had it rough.
Yeah, really rough, and I can only imagine what they're going through now. Because that was back a few years ago, and I don't think it was nearly as bad as it is now. I mean, now they're talking about it's like 25 to 30 guys on the writing staff, so it's pretty bad.
Right, and it's not the writers. I don't even think it's the talent to an extent. It's not them.
Yeah,
it's not one thing. It's a combination of things.
Perfect storm.
It's just a culmination of crap that has been thrown together.
You could just leave it right at that. That sounds
great.
There you go.
Culmination of crap.
A culmination of crap.
That's all. It sucks too.
Exactly. Before we wrap it up here, we're getting really close to the hour. Tell us briefly about the Michael Elgin Ring of Honor thing. He tweeted that he quit. Some people are smelling a work. What's the story there?
Okay, I was smelling a work because Ring of Honor's been doing this lately, where they will put out a tweet of some dramatic event that happened, or they will take somebody off TV, like a Matt Taven, who, if you guys have not been following my Ring of Honor updates, for a while he was chasing Jay Lethal for the television title and having some great matches. And then also you had the situation where Silas Young, quote, the last real man, Ring of Honor tweeted that he broke his leg and he missed All-Star Extravaganza. Now that was a complete work.
Really?
That was a complete work by Ring of Honor. He's fine. He's not injured. They're just writing him off TV. They're kind of blurring the lines between what's real and what's not. But incidentally enough, with Michael Elgin, I'm sorry, what were we going to say?
And what is the purpose? Why would they want to do that? What do they gain out of doing that?
Maybe generate some talk, generate some buzz behind their product. But other than that, I really don't see the purpose because I'm a huge fan of Silas Young. I've seen his matches. I've seen him in person. He is awesome. He is absolutely awesome. And go on YouTube and look for the public silence announcements. You want to talk about a mean, hateful heel. That's the guy.
That's the guy, huh?
That's the guy. Cause he's even called Kevin Steen a pussy in front of his hometown crowd on pay-per-view.
Well, for me, dude, I don't even. I mean, I'm just a fan of their product. I don't think they need to do all this silly stuff.
No, but with Michael Elgin, if you go to WrestlingInformant.com, you'll see it. They put out a tweet that Michael Elgin will be at Champions vs. All-Stars, which I believe is an iPay-per-view. And that is coming up Saturday after Michael Bennett's bachelor party. And he said, basically, I quit. But incidentally enough, I went back through his timeline, and that tweet is gone.
Oh, it's gone now.
Mysteriously vanished.
Let me go on our website because I embedded that tweet, so I want to see what happened.
You embedded it, and I am scrolling through. Oh, and Michael Elgin changed his Twitter handle.
Oh, is it no longer ROH?
Nope.
Whatever it is?
Nope, it is Michael Elgin 25.
Michael Elgin 25. Well, I still got the tweet here, but I think because just the embedding code, it doesn't delete the tweet. So
no, it doesn't. Because I'm looking through around that time frame, and it's almost like as soon as you put that up, I'm looking at his timeline, and it's gone.
Wow,
it's deleted.
Well, very good. Hey, before we
hang on, wait, hold on a second. Actually, I take that back. That is a correction because I had looked for it and it wasn't there, but it is. That's interesting. It's here.
Oh, it is here.
I'm sorry. I apologize to our listeners. I thought it was gone because I did not see it a few days ago. I scrolled through the entire timeline. I did not see it.
Oh, now you found it. Okay. Well,
I found it. Yeah, it says, I said this on our call. Thank you for getting me back home, but an article doesn't fix lies and damage done. I quit.
Okay.
I smell a work. I'm calling BS on this. Just especially with the way they're putting this out on social media.
Yeah.
It's too. No, it is not. I think they're just getting him some time off. He's working some indie stuff. And for our members, here's another nice little tease for our members. Friday, when I do my members audio update for NXT and ROH, I will have my recap of the St. Louis Anarchy wrestling show I went to this past Friday night, where Michael Elgin was there.
Aha! Well, I
will drop a bombshell.
Well, I will say
for
this
the members.
I will say this then. With that, we're going to wrap up the show. But if you want to hear what Chris has got to say about this show, if you want to get my Raw review from Monday, you want to get our daily audio programs, if you want to get access to hundreds, if not close to damn near thousands of hours of shoot interviews over the last 7 years, the place to go, WrestlingInformant.com/membership. If you sign up now, you can get it for $2.99, locks in your price forever as long as you're a member of the site, and you can hear all the all the shoot interviews, the daily audio programs. It's a great deal, and we encourage you guys to sign up. Check it out. That's WrestlingInformant.com/membership. Chris, anything else you got?
Yeah, actually, while you talk about membership,
yes.
It is $2.99 now. That price will go up.
That's right. Nothing's forever.
No, get in, sign up for a membership while it's still $2.99.
The only thing that's forever is the $2.99 price if you sign up and stay a member. That's what is forever, because it's going to go up. And so we encourage you now to get in, and I would definitely sign up right now. So with that being said, Chris, want to thank Chris. I want to thank all the listeners for joining us here today.
Thank you.
We do appreciate it. Happy birthday again. That's the reason we need to thank you, because Chris could have been like a star, like somebody like The Miz, and just said, I'm not doing this show. I got a birthday to be at. So
get a stunt double.
Yes. So
get Damian Mizdow to stunt double for the show.
Oh God! Out of all the things in mid card, I'm really enjoying that. I will say that.
That's funny. That's funny stuff.
It is. So follow us on Twitter at PW Informant. You can get us on Facebook, Facebook.com/WrestlingInformant. And just quickly, you can also, if you don't want to become a member, although we highly recommend it, there are other ways to support us because we are an ad-free website. If you go to WrestlingInformant.com/Amazon and do any Amazon shopping at all, you will help Amazon give us a couple of pennies. Goes towards what we do. We do appreciate your support there. Get Brian Alvarez's book, The Death of WCW, WrestlingInformant.com/WCW book. And also, finally, Chris, very timely to what we do, if you like to shop on WWE Shop Zone, we have a link for that as well. WrestlingInformant.com/WWE, and we get a little portion of the sale there. It costs you no extra to do any of these options. It just tells these retailers that we have sent you, and they give us a couple of little pennies to go towards the keeping the website up and going. So with that, Chris, on that note, where can people find you on Twitter?
You can reach me at Chris McManamy.
Fantastic. I'm at Gary Cantrell. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you again next week.